Mm. Mm. Hello and welcome to my channel, Dash of Jazz. I am Jasmine, a home cook, recipe developer, and creator, and I'm here to help you elevate your everyday eating with flavor, culture, and fun. If that is your vibe, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Today's recipe tutorial is literally decades in the making. I've been making candy cane cookies every holiday season for the last 10 years, and it all started with a 1963 edition of the Betty Crocker Cooky Book that my great grandma Curly passed down to me. My cookies are simpler and, dare I say, more delicious than Betty's. This cookie recipe has been on my website, dashofjazz.com, for about 8 years, and in that time, hundreds of thousands of you have checked it out. So I've gotten a ton of feedback about where things can go wrong in kitchens all over the world. Today, I'm going to teach you how to avoid all the mistakes that I've either made myself or helped my readers troubleshoot over the years so that you can make them perfectly on your very first try. This is a no-chill cookie recipe, and the bake time is less than 10 minutes. The ingredient list is short and simple, fewer than 10 ingredients. To make my candy cane cookies, you'll need all-purpose flour, granulated sugar, unsalted butter. It's been softened, and we'll get to that later. 1 egg, a little bit of salt, and crushed candy canes. I have several options for you to get this into the cookies, so don't be intimidated if you have whole peppermints, whole candy canes, peppermint crunch sprinkles. We're going to get into all of that. Last but not least, 2 flavors, and this is another way that my cookies diverge from the original recipe, aside from their shape, which again we'll get into. Vanilla extract and almond extract. The almond extract is a little bit controversial with some of my readers. Some people like it, some people hate it. This gives you that classic bakery sugar cookie kind of vibe in them. It is optional, but I highly recommend that you try it. I'm using unsalted butter, and I like to use unsalted butter in all of my baking because it gives me more control over the salt content. Salt content in pre-salted sticks of butter can vary, so you don't have as much confidence in like the consistency of your bakes. That being said, this butter should be softened, not completely softened to room temperature. And this is one of the areas that people can sometimes go wrong with this recipe. If your butter is too soft and warm, your cookies are going to spread and run into each other. They're going to be flat. They're not going to be the tasty little delectable holiday bite that we love so much. So one test is that you know that the butter is at the right temperature consistency, which is like around the 65 degrees Fahrenheit range. You're going to press onto it, and your fingers should leave an indentation, but you shouldn't, the butter should not like bend and yield and kind of sploosh around under the weight of your finger. You can see the stick is still intact. It should also feel cool to the touch. Sometimes people give feedback that they find it too salty, and one thing that you want to make sure is that you are using fine salt. You could use table salt, which is iodized salt, and that's slightly finer than these sea salt crystals. So if you do that, you'll want to just reduce the amount by about 1/4. So instead of 1 teaspoon of fine sea salt, you would use 3/4 of a teaspoon of plain table iodized salt. Last but not least is the candy cane sprinkles, crushed candy cane, crushed peppermint, peppermint crunch, whatever you want to call this. I have several different methods that I've used for this one ingredient over the years. This is a bunch of candy canes that I had just run through my blender to get them into this kind of sprinkle consistency. If you go that route, you can use the blender or the food processor, but you want to just pulse until you get this consistency. You don't want to just press the button and walk away or let it run, because you're going to wind up with a peppermint powder, basically, which you could still use in these cookies, but it's not going to look as festive and it's not going to give you the same texture. And you can do that with either peppermint candies or candy canes. Just don't use those soft puff like peppermint puffs, because they're not going to do right in this recipe. Another way you can crush them, which is like the old school way that I did for a number of years before I started using my appliances, is to bag up your full-size candy canes or peppermints. I like to double bag them into a zipper sealed bag and then just bang on them with like a hammer or a rolling pin. It's a great way to relieve stress and get out aggression, just saying. And last but not least, you can purchase what's called Peppermint Crunch or pre-crushed peppermints. These are typically sold in your grocery store in like the holiday section or on your standard baking aisle. They're also available online. I'll drop a link to the ones that I have used with good results in the description box for you. So let's get started on our cookie dough. I am going to use my stand mixer. You could also use a hand mixer for this. And honestly, you could even do this by hand. I have done that before. It's just going to take a little bit of elbow grease. So I'm adding my softened butter to the bowl of the stand mixer with the sugar. And if your sugar is like has little clumps in it like mine does, that's totally fine. They're all going to get beat out and creamed with that lovely butter. I'm also going to go ahead and add my egg. And this is something that I honestly don't always do, which is crack the egg into a separate container, but it is very helpful to make sure you don't get any little pieces of eggshell in your cookie dough or your cake batter or whatever it is that you're adding the egg into. I need to take that advice more frequently, but do as I show you, not as I do when I'm off camera. This is where the controversy comes in. I'm about to add 1.5 teaspoons of almond extract to blend with these ingredients. And I'm using a half teaspoon, so I'll do 3 of those. And some people really hate almond extract. I don't understand it. If you followed my recipes, you'll know that I add it to a number of different things. It just really adds that nutty bakery quality that we associate with like professional sugar cookies and other baked goods that we pay a lot of money for from professional shops. And I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. I'm going to fit the paddle attachment to my stand mixer. Again, you can use a hand mixer for this step, or again, even do it by hand when to lock it down and let this beat at a little, just slightly below medium speed for about 2 minutes. So now I'm just combining the dry ingredients, which is the flour, the salt, and of course the crushed candy canes. And as you can see, mine have gotten a little stuck together. So I'm just going to use my whisk to kind of dig them out of that container and then hand whisk the ingredients until incorporated. This step coats the candy cane pieces in flour, which helps them kind of distribute very nice and evenly throughout the cookie dough instead of clustering awkwardly or like sinking to the bottom and burning. So now the butter and sugar and all those ingredients are combined. I'm going to pour in the flour mixture and then let the mixer run at low speed until the dough just comes together. And this process doesn't take long at all. The dough comes together pretty quickly, so keep an eye on it, not even a full minute. And then I'm going to turn off the mixer, unmount the bowl, and scrape off all that dough from the paddle, and then just finish incorporating it by hand to make sure that there are no dry pockets of flour in the bottom of the bowl. Now I'm lining a full sheet pan, or you could use multiple smaller pans, whatever you have available, in parchment paper. This is going to prevent the cookies from sticking and just make for easier cleanup for me later, so I highly recommend it. I'm using a medium-sized cookie scoop. I believe this is 1 tablespoon, but I'll link the exact one in the description box for you. And just scooping the dough, leaving about 2 inches between each of the cookies. They don't really spread, which you'll see later, but this is just how I like to do it. I don't want to crowd them and have them releasing steam onto each other as the butter melts or anything like that. I just give them the space that I think they need, and in my experience, this has worked really well. Now these balls of cookie dough are going to go into the oven at 350 degrees for about 9 minutes. I'm going to go over a few details while the cookies bake so that you know for sure when yours are done. These cookies are done right. The cookies will not spread out very much at all, and the tops will not brown. When you're done baking, the outside edges will be just set, the bottoms will be golden brown, but the inside is going to remain very soft and almost doughy. The thing is, when they're fresh out of the oven and very hot, they're also going to be very soft and very hot, so difficult to handle. So when they come out of the oven, I'm going to use a spatula to flip it over so we can see. Ooh, they smell so good. The most difficult part of this entire recipe is to let the cookies sit for at least 10 minutes before trying to devour them. Not only are they hot, they're super soft and will fall apart in your hands without giving that time to cool. I beg you to have some patience because many people have learned this lesson the hard way, including some of my cousins who shall not be named. Now, if you look at the cookies, these are still warm and fresh out of the oven, and you can see that they're just barely golden brown around the edges. The tops are soft and a little doughy, but they won't just completely like cave in at the touch of my finger. So there's some firmness on the top, and you have that golden brown outer edge. The edges are set and firm. The top is a little soft. That's when you know they're perfect. Mm. Truly the perfect holiday bite. They're sweet, but not too sweet, with flavor notes of vanilla, almond, and of course, fresh peppermint for that holiday flavor. I hope you'll enjoy these candy cane cookies with your loved ones soon, very soon. And if you enjoyed this video, please don't be shy. Give it a like. Leave me any questions or comments you have below. Hit that subscribe button and be sure to check out the description box for all the details you need. I'll see you next time.